Welcome. I'm joined today by Eduardo Toledo, a jurist and specialist in international criminal law. We'll be discussing some of the issues in and around international law to do with the Armenian-Azerbaijani conflict over Karabakh. So, Mr. Toledo, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here.
So to start off, it's been 9 months since the 44-day war or the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war. In terms of an international criminal law perspective, how do you see the situation now? We know that both sides have accused each other of a number of violations, and I'm interested, as someone who observes these sorts of instances around the world, what you think about the situation now.
Today, the situation in terms of the conflict is quite blurred, I would say, because we have experienced many things in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We have the media campaigns on both sides. We have movements in terms of soldiers and attacks from allegedly both sides. We have videos coming from the field, which are a clear violation of the rules of war. And it's blurred because we have seen that there is no clarity on who is in charge sometimes and who is responsible for specific zones that are invaded by one side towards the other. Unfortunately, today we will need more clarity and especially more an active role from the authorities of both countries, taking responsibility for the things that their own soldiers are doing in the field. And there we have victims, for example, in the Armenian side of farmers or persons there, and even soldiers that are tortured or attacked by Azeris every day in the front. So I would say that in terms of what could be the role of the institution of international criminal law, I expect more action too, and some activities that will help both sides to clarify certain things that they are doing.
And during the 44-day war, the Second Karabakh War, a number of alleged war crimes took place. The Armenian side has accused the Azerbaijani side of using even chemical weapons, and a number of other clear examples of these sorts of actions took place. But since then, we haven't seen many processes regarding understanding what happened or bringing any of the perpetrators to justice. And some are saying that this is to do with the fact that this was the nature of the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So I'm wondering why you think not much has been done with regards to war crimes in the 2020 war.
That's a good point, because what I know or the news that I had access to, there are many criminal proceedings in Azerbaijan against those POWs or soldiers that are there on that side, and they are facing charges for war crimes. I don't have any information that in Armenia those proceedings are happening, but they should. And unfortunately, that should be the first step in the system of international criminal law that should be used. I'm not saying that those processes are fair or that those processes will respect the rule of law, but they should. And that is important for what you said might be the clarity in the facts during the conflict. Then at the international level, we don't have any experience so far or any process so far that will investigate or prosecute persons for the crimes that allegedly both sides, as you said, has committed. Is it necessary? Well, I would say yes, absolutely. And there are some institutional steps that should be respected, and some groups, for example, the Minsk group, should have a more active role. That is connected with the previous question. We need to see more leadership on this. We need to see, especially towards what you want with your question, which is the truth, and to clarify what happened, we need more leadership from international actors and national actors too. I will give you an example. What happened in Shusha last week, I understand that many of the ambassadors went there invited by the Azeris just to be there and see, and I would say that I see I don't understand some of them, especially because some of those ambassadors are connected to a country which is connected to a history which is closer to Armenia than to Azerbaijan. So from those, I don't understand. But what I fully understand, and it's a good message, I think, is that Russia, France, and the US did not attend that meeting. So that's a kind of leadership by omission, but we need more of this. France is taking now a more active role in terms of diplomacy and trying to push forward the position of Armenia. Well, we need more things like that.
And another question I have is that in terms of the channels that exist in terms of international criminal law, some have said that these processes that take place a lot of the times are to do with regimes that have already fallen. So the Gaddafi regime, the Omar al-Bashir regime in Sudan, the Milosevic regime in Serbia. What I'm getting at is that, is it only possible to have, these proper international war crimes tribunals if the government in question or the authority in question is no longer in power? And the problem in terms of Armenia and Azerbaijan is you have two states that are moderately stable.
Well, you mentioned some of the examples, but there are other examples, and especially at the national levels, in which the power was less important at the time when the process started. Unfortunately, as it happened at the national level, the international criminal law justice system also has to face reality and also has to face the limitations of power. So I would say that should not be the rule, that international criminal law justice system acts once that some of the leaders or the leader is falling or fallen. But we need to gain and to create enough political will to push forward justice processes, no matter what the political situation is. But again, this is part of the justice system as a thing, not the justice system of the international criminal law system or other fields. Unfortunately, we face those limitations due to the power, which sometimes is stronger than the law. But that should be the message that we need to send with these processes. We need to tell and to show to those persons in power that they are not immune to the system of international criminal law. That's one part of the answer that I wanted to give to you. The other part is connected with the idea that there are enough, I think, legal frameworks that could be activated to push for justice. One, for example, could be the International Criminal Court. That could be a good path to explore for Armenia or for Nagorno-Karabakh. But it's complicated because geopolitically, I understand that it will not be easy for those countries to push for a system like that and to also avoid problems with other countries or with other powers that might be important also for Armenia or Nagorno-Karabakh to have on their side. So it's a complicated situation, and the geopolitical analysis is part of that.
And finally, one of the things that are brought up as to why there is ambiguity, and which you mentioned earlier, is the issue of status. And this can be quite abstract or complex to people because, you know, we have Armenia, we have Azerbaijan, and we have Karabakh. But we speak a lot about the issue of the status of Karabakh, and that being a precursor to all of the problems which follow after. I was wondering if you can explain what we mean when we say issue of status, and also if there is any solution to the issue of status.
Solution, I don't know today, especially after the war of last year. There is a resolution of the General Assembly discussing this issue of the status of Nagorno-Karabakh, and the big problem is that today the status changed after the war. The situation that Armenia had last year, before the war, exactly 1 year before, right? It was in July that we saw the first important attacks that exploded in the end. This is the situation of Nagorno-Karabakh at the international level. To be a state, you have to fulfill certain elements that I will not explain because I imagine that most of the audience know them. But basically, one of the elements that Nagorno-Karabakh needs is the recognition of other states, and that is an issue because there is no enough countries recognizing the region as an independent state. But also because they, in my view, they don't have an active role in this process, pushing, for example, in international organizations or in bilateral or multilateral organizations, a role or a status like, for example, the people of Palestine pushed forward, or other regions in the world that little by little gain the independence, or even Kosovo or the Cook Islands in Oceania. So the status is an issue. It's not going to be solved soon, and especially it's not going to be solved if we don't see an active role. And I keep repeating this because it's one of the things that I can see from the information that I receive, which is we need an active role from the leadership in Armenia, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and also in other countries to solve the situation. And that is the key thing that we have missed since the end of the war. We have seen that the silence only beneficiate Azerbaijan, Turkey, and the status quo now will only beneficiate those that won the war last year.
Well, Eduardo, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.